A few moments later, he heard a sound growing louder as he approached. He didn't bother to check it out, focused on getting to the motor park before it got too dark. Why not check out that sound? The voice suggested again. No, I can't. Whatever it is, it can sort out itself. It's already dark. Zen kept hearing the sound fading and fading as he walked on, but Zen did not respond. This place is strange to have such a sound. Don't you think so? The voice persisted, but Zen didn't respond. You need to follow your heart, the voice urged. Deep down in his heart, he wanted to know what the sound is all about, but he kept pushing the thought away. This is nightfall. I can't do otherwise, he insisted, moving on. He had gone a long distance when he suddenly remembered the chief priest's word. Listen to her and listen to your heart. He quickly turned and ran back to the source of the noise. It was dark and he didn't have a flashlight, but he could see a little. He found the jeep that had refused to stop for him. Oh, it ran into the bush, he said. But why can't the driver come out and find the solution? The engine was running and the windows were closed with the air conditioner on. He peered through the window and saw the driver bent face down on the steering wheel. He tried to open the door, but it was locked. He knocked hard several times, hoping the driver would respond, but the man didn't move. He peered through the window and saw the driver bent face down on the steering wheel. He tried to open the door, but it was locked. He knocked hard several times, hoping the driver would respond, but the man didn't move. How would I be able to open this door now? Standing alone in the dimly lit bushy area, he realized that help might not come anytime soon. The only option is to break the screen, he thought, but quickly wondered where he could find a strong object to shatter the window. Why not check the other doors? An instinct voice whispered in his mind. Quickly, Zen checked the other doors, and to his relief, one of the back door was unlocked. He entered the car, unpinned the driver's door, and then stepped out to open it. He pulled the man out of the driver's seat and laid him gently on the ground, noticing the foam around the man's mouth. The sight was alarming, but Zen remembered the herb he had in his bag. He swiftly brought it out and squeezed the water into the man's mouth, praying it might work some miracle as it worked for the woman. When he was done, Zen lifted the man back into the car, laying him across the back seat, and then retrieved his bag from the roadside. I hope I can drive this car, he muttered, eyeing the vehicle's controls. It's been over 30 years since I drove last, backward when there was only manual gears. I just pray this is a manual gear. However, as he mounted the driver's seat and inspected the car, he discovered it was an automatic. Well, automatic should be easier, he reassured himself. He switched on the car inner lights, adjusted the mirrors. On trying to reverse the vehicle back to the road, it wasn't moving. He applied some force, but finally he succeeded on getting back on the road. Amadioha, I thank you, he murmured with gratitude. Zen had learned to drive during the colonial era, and he had been the youngest driver with a license. But since the departure of the colonial masters, he hadn't had a car of his own, and as a result had no opportunity to drive again. Now, as he familiarized himself with the automatic gear, he gradually increased his speed. Where will I take this man now? Zen wondered aloud. He was unfamiliar with the town and unsure where to find a hospital. Taking the man to Onitsha seemed like a risky option due to the distance. But then he noticed the man's light movement. I think I should risk it and drive to Onitsha. It's just about controlling the steering, the brake, and the throttle. This should be easier than the manual gear. Determined, he accelerated, gradually pushing the speedometer from 80 to 100, then 120, and finally 140. Zen reached Onitsha under 3 hours. Upon arrival, he flagged down a taxi. I need you to lead me to Pentagon Hospital on Lagos Street in Fege. I am not familiar with this part of Onitsha, Zen requested. You will pay me 50 naira, the driver replied. I will pay you 30, Zen bargained. Sir, please pay me 50 naira. You are a rich man, driving this kind of car. Let's go. There's no time to waste, Zen urged. The taxi driver led him to the hospital, where Zen quickly called for assistance. Nurses rushed out with a stretcher and carried the man inside. Thank you, sir, the taxi driver said as Zen handed him a 50 naira note. Zen followed the nurses inside. A nurse approached him. Your wife is stronger now, but she has been sobbing. I think she misses you. I will see her right away, Zen responded. He gently knocked on the door and waited before entering. The woman tried to sit up, upon seeing him. Don't bother sitting up, just relax, Zen said softly. How are you now? She nodded slightly, making a faint sound. Good. I am grateful to Amadioha that you are getting stronger. I embarked on a mini travel, but I am back. Let me see if I can get something to eat, he said. Zen observed his time. It was already late. Have you eaten? He asked. She nodded again. All right, he said. I need to find something to eat myself. I haven't eaten since morning. Just as he stood to leave, the nurse reappeared. The doctor wants to see you, sir, she informed him. Where can I find him? Zen asked, following her to the doctor's office. Good evening, sir, the doctor greeted, though it was already midnight. Good evening, doctor, Zen responded, taking a seat. How is your wife? The doctor inquired. She's better today, Zen replied. She's responding well to treatment. But tell me, does she have any speech impediment? The doctor asked. Zen paused. Actually, she's not my wife. I found her yesterday in a terrible state. She was bleeding heavily and her baby was already born. I couldn't just leave her there, so I brought her here. The doctor listened intently. You are a good man, Zen. You have done something truly noble by saving her life. Most people wouldn't have bothered. Zen nodded, but the doctor continued. I also want to ask about the other patient you brought in. We need his medical history to treat him properly. Zen sighed, shaking his head. I don't know him either, doctor. I found him in a car, unconscious, on my way back here. I managed to get him out and drove him to the hospital, but I know nothing about him. The doctor stood, impressed. You are a good man, he said, extending his hand to shake Zen's. The world needs more people like you. The man had been placed on oxygen. We are currently running some tests on him, but having his previous medical history will help us achieve a faster result. We need to find his family as quickly as possible, the doctor explained. Go to his car and check if there are documents that can give us information about him. This will help us locate his people quickly. If there is no contact info, we will have to notify the police. Thank you, doctor, Zen responded as he stood to leave the office. As he stepped out, a wave of dizziness washed over him. I haven't eaten since morning, he muttered. I just pray I will find something to eat. It's already midnight. He made his way to the guest house and asked one of the security men, can I still get something to eat at this time? I guess so, but let me verify, the security man replied before stepping inside to inquire. Moment later, he returned. You can go in, sir. Okay, thank you, Zen said, heading inside and ordering 2 plates of fufu and egusi soup. Sorry, sir, we don't have egusi at the moment, the waiter informed him. What soup do you have? Zen asked, a bit disappointed. We have okra and vegetable soup, the waiter replied. Vegetable will be fine, Zen decided. Sure, sir. I'll be at your service shortly, the waiter said before disappearing. He returned 5 minutes later with Zen's meal. We apologize for the delay, he said as he served the food. No worries, Zen replied. Please, can I get a bottle of Coke? Yes, sir. The waiter promptly returned with a drink. As Zen ate, his mind was full of thoughts. Where could I have slept if I hadn't met this man? What also would have been his fate if I hadn't gone back to check out that sound? But why do all these things keep happening to me? Problems that can overwhelm anyone. Why me? His heart sank as he thought of his family. They were expecting me back home this evening. But look at me now, stranded and hopeless. An invisible voice interrupted his thoughts. What makes you think you are hopeless? Because I don't know when I will get out of this mess, Zen replied inwardly. Is it really a mess? Yes, it is, Zen argued. How will I explain about a woman who can't speak to identify herself because she's dumb? All the money I have with me is spent on her, and I don't know what the balance will be. And where will I get her to when she's discharged? The money I'm spending now was meant for my family's upkeep for next week. Am I not in a mess already? You are just sowing a good seed, the voice reassured him. And besides, the woman is not dumb. How could you have located her if not that you heard her voice? It's true. I located her because I heard her screaming for help. Zen was still on this thought when the waiter's voice jolted him back to his reality. Sir, are you done? Can I clear the table? Yes, I am done. Go ahead, Zen said, surprised to see his plate empty. He hadn't even realized he had finished eating. How much is my bill? He asked. Your bill is 70 naira, the waiter replied. Zen handed him the money and left, heading back to the hospital. With the help of the hospital security, Zen was able to search the man's car. Among the documents, he found out the man's identity. His name is Joe Osakwe, residing at number 2 Shanahan Street, Port Harcourt. It was already midnight by the time Zen returned to the hospital room. The woman was asleep when he quietly entered, carefully not to disturb her. He set his items down softly. Then he went into the bathroom to shower. Afterwards, he knelt to pray. Thank you, Amadioha, for the privilege of being alive. Thank you for the gift of good health. Thank you for my family's peace. I have had enough troubles already. Shield me from more. I will not die in my sleep. Preserve the lives of the sick ones and heal them. Keep my family safe. Please, Amadioha, answer my prayers. With that, Zen rose and quietly lay down on his bed, quickly falling asleep. Early the next morning, as Zen prepared for his journey to Port Harcourt, the doctors came to check on the woman. How are you, madam? One of them asked. The woman nodded and waved a greeting. Can you stand now? The doctor inquired. She signaled that she could stand but couldn't walk. Let's help her walk, another doctor suggested. A nurse supported her on one side while the doctor held her on the other. They lifted her feet, but she trembled. Unable to move her legs, another nurse began lifting and lowering each leg, helping her to take small steps. They managed to move her about 4 feet before turning back, finding the return trip easier. Her legs are more flexible now, observed by the nurse assisting with her movement. Good. Ensure she exercises her legs every 3 hours. The doctor instructed. If she shows more improvement by tomorrow, we will consider discharging her. Okay, the nurses responded as they helped her back to the bed. The doctors then checked her vitals. Her blood pressure isn't coming down despite changing her medications, one of the doctors noted with concern. I suspected she's under serious emotional stress, which is keeping her blood pressure high. But sadly, she can't express herself, the other doctor added. Zen, overhearing this conversation, felt even more burdened. What do I do with this woman? How will I get out of this situation? Where will I take her? Zen boarded a bus to Port Harcourt, his mind still heavy with the thoughts about the woman he left behind at the hospital. The journey was long, but he arrived before noon. After making some enquiries, he was able to locate the office of Joe Osakwe. My name is Zen, and I came all the way from Onitsha. I was sent from Pentagon Hospital to seek anyone who can identify Joe Osakwe, who is currently undergoing medical treatment at the hospital. Zen explained to the receptionist, who quickly informed the company's manager. The manager wasted no time. He immediately dispatched a staff to inform Joe's wife, while another employee was assigned to take Joe to the canteen and served him anything he wanted to eat. Zen was grateful for the hospitality, but remained anxious about the situation back at the hospital. In less than an hour, Mrs. Osakwe arrived at the office, panic evident in her eyes. She had been sobbing ever since she received the news about her husband. What happened to my husband? She asked frantically as he rushed into the reception to meet Zen. Madam, Zen began gently. A good Samaritan brought your husband to the hospital last night. His condition isn't too bad, but he needs someone to take care of him at the hospital. Let's not waste any more time. Onitsha is about 4 hours from here. The journey back to Onitsha was tense. The driver sped as if Joe's life depended on it, and Mrs. Joe didn't utter a word of complaint about the speed. Her heart was racing with worry, and all she could think about was seeing her husband again. In less than 4 hours, they arrived at Pentagon Hospital. Back in the hospital, a nurse escorted Mrs. Joe Osakwe to see her husband in the ward. Joe was still on oxygen, and the sight of him in that state brought fresh tears to her eyes. She hurried to his side, overwhelmed by emotion. After ensuring that Mrs. Joe was with her husband, Zen returned to the ward where the woman was staying. As he opened the door, he found her breastfeeding her baby. She looked up and greeted him with a warm smile. How are you today? Zen asked, stepping closer. She nodded, her smile widening to confirm she was doing better. Your face looks brighter today. I hope you are feeling stronger, he asked, genuinely concerned. Again, she nodded, signaling that she was indeed improving. That's good. We will talk more later, Zen said, offering her a reassuring smile before leaving the ward to check on Mr. Joe Osakwe. If you are followed to this point, kindly subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so that you will know when we publish interesting stories like this.